Hello and welcome to BattleTech Faction Briefings. Today, we have a unique episode. While doing research for the Otomo, I discovered that there is a minor unit that has a parallel history. Thus, this became a 2-for-1 episode. Both teams are the guardians of House Kurita. One dates back to the Star League, the other fought in Operation Bulldog. They are the Otomo and Izanagi warriors. Both teams have unique symbols. The Otomo have a gold shield with the House Kurita symbol in the center. The emblem is located on the mech's upper left torso. The Izanagi warriors use a dragon's claw on red, tying into their original name of the Dragon's Claws. The location of the emblem is not listed, though it is likely the opposite of the Otomo on the upper right torso. The Otomo use flat black paint with metallic gold as the highlights. The paint style matches their emblem, giving this unit a sense of theme. The Izanagi warriors use the opposite paint scheme, with gold as the main color and black as the highlight. This shows the connection between the two units, but also emphasizes the rivalry that they share. The Otomo and Izanagi warriors are the elite guards of House Kurita. To skip spoilers, go to the time listed. The origins of the Otomo are vague. It is likely they began as just the personal guard for the coordinator, but as mechs began to become more common, the Otomo would become a fully developed combat team. They would stay with the coordinator, which kept them off of the battlefield during this era. The Otomo continued their defense of House Kurita as the centuries passed. They would join Minoru Kurita during the Combine invasion of the Federated Suns. However, this trip would end in tragedy, as a Fed Sun sniper would kill Minoru on Kentaurus. This would outrage his son, Jinjiro Kurita, who would demand his troops kill them all. When one of the DCMS generals wanted a clearer explanation for the mission, Jinjiro ordered the Otomo to kill him on the spot, and they did so without question. From that point forward, various units from the DCMS, including the Otomo and Sword of Light, would hunt down and kill everyone on the world of Kentaurus. Afterward, Jinjiro Kurita would return to Luthien, with the Otomo by his side. Over the next few centuries, the rulers of the Draconis Combine would rarely leave their throne world. If they did, the Otomo would do everything in their power to keep the royal family safe. There would be several attempts against the rulers of the Draconis Combine during the Third Succession War. Many of these attempts would be from enemies within the nation. It wasn't until the late years of the war that the Otomo began to slip up. In 3004, a member of the Otomo, Ingmar Sterensen, would assassinate Hohiro Kurita in his palace. Sterensen was a member of the Tier Resistance movement of the Rasselhag military district. This act would not achieve the independence the rebels sought. Takashi Kurita, commander of the Otomo, would have Sterensen executed immediately. Sterensen would be hung from his feet and burned until all his bones fell to the ground. The fact that a member of the Otomo could kill the coordinator and the next in line, being the leader of the unit, led to rumors in the court. New coordinator Takashi Kurita would order the Otomo to hunt down anyone spreading rumors. He would execute everyone who questioned his ascension to the throne. Then in 3005, an assassin would strike at Takashi for revenge. He would use a knife, and Takashi's clothes were padded enough to save his life. He countered the assassin and broke the assassin's neck. He would have the assailant hung from the gates of the palace, as well as every one of the Otomo guards in his entourage who failed to protect him. In 3019, another major conspiracy would spring up from the Rasselhag separatists. The plan was to sabotage a dropship, causing it to crash into the military command center at the spaceport on Rasselhag. The plan would attempt to kill Takashi and put Theodore, his son, on the throne, alongside his Rasselhagian wife. However, Marcus Kurita had a change of heart and called Theodore Kurita to the command center shortly before the attack was to happen. This threw off the plan and revealed the conspiracy. Takashi and Theodore would survive, and the traitor governor of Rasselhag, Utar Sovold, would be killed. Takashi would execute all people in the conspiracy, as well as their children and parents. Marcus Kurita would not get implicated, and Takashi would promote him so that Marcus had to go to Luthien where he could be watched, to ensure he would not get up to any more schemes. During the course of the war, Takashi Kurita would go to the front several times. However, he called upon the Sword of Light far more often than the Otomo, most likely due to his lack of trust in a unit that couldn't prevent 9 different assassination attempts as of 3024. These included bombs, poison, and sabotage to his mech, all of which he somehow survived. The Otomo would remain as guards on Luthien during the Fourth Succession War, the Ronin War, and the War of 39. They would be more diligent in keeping the royal house safe, which kept them off the battlefield. However, during this time, Takashi Kurita would establish a group of elite bodyguards called the Dragon's Claws in the 3030s. They would be made up of retired warriors who were extremely loyal to the coordinator. The soldiers of the Otomo would not be happy with this, and a rivalry would start between the two bodyguard forces. With 2 teams guarding the royal family, there would be little to worry about. The establishment of the Free Rasselhag Republic in 3034 would also put an end to Rasselhag rebels trying to assassinate Takashi Kurita. There would be no major threats to the coordinator until the clans arrived. The onslaught of Clan Smoke Jaguar and later Clan Novacat would ravage the defenses of the Draconis Combine. Theodore Kurita would get informed by Comstar that the clan forces were planning an assault on Luthien. He would inform the commanders of the First Sword of Light, 2nd Legion of Vega, Genyosha, and the Otomo. Arguments over strategy would cause tensions to build between the leader of the Otomo and Theodore Kurita. The defending force would get aid from the Federated Commonwealth in the form of the Wolf's Dragoons and the Kellhounds. The Dragon's Claws were brought out and upgraded to assist in the fight alongside several regiments of local militia. This mixed group of soldiers would have to deal with infighting and mistrust, but they would be ready when the clanners arrived in January 3052. The Otomo would divide into company-sized teams and would fill in gaps in defensive positions, providing support where they could. They fought fiercely as they tried to ensure that their allies would be able to hold back the clan threat. More importantly, Takashi Kurita took to the battlefield once again, and the soldiers of the Otomo sacrificed their lives to ensure the coordinator would be triumphant. It is noted that in one of the battles, an Otomo mech warrior would eject from his downed mech to collide with an enemy Omni-mech, causing it to stumble so his allies could get a small advantage in the fight. The soldier would die, but so would the clanner. One of the Otomo's most notable battles was near Basin Lake in the Imperial City. The first Jaguar guards would attack what they thought was a team of Otomo, but it was a trap as they were dummy mechs and the clanners walked into a minefield. The subsequent attack by the Combine forces were able to put a halt to their advance. The Dragon's Claws would be held in reserve until some Novacats broke through the defensive lines. The Dragon's Claws would send out recon teams, and they would come across the Novacats. They would be able to hold them back while waiting for reinforcements to take down the clan invaders. After fighting on Luthien, the Dragon's Claws would be sent out to Tiente in late January alongside Hohiro Kurita. They would be shocked to see how poorly their troops were doing against the Novacat invaders. Hohiro would get targeted by a head-hunting attack by elemental soldiers. This led to the DCMS forces fleeing and changing strategy to guerrilla warfare. The commander of the Dragon's Claws and other wounded soldiers would be evacuated in order to get word back to DCMS leadership. However, the DCMS lacked the necessary manpower for the fight. Thus, it was Victor Steiner Davian and his troops who finally rescued the son of Theodore Kurita. When the smoke cleared and the clan forces retreated, the Otomo would be in tatters. It took years for them to resemble the unit they had once been. even in 3054, they would only be at 2 battalions of mechs. This put them in a position of being one of the weaker units in the Draconis Combine, despite the elite level of their soldiers. At the same time, the Dragon's Claws would get promoted and become the Izanagi Warriors, which led to more tension between the units. The Izanagi Warriors would get the opportunity to test pilot the first run of the Raptor Omnimech. Their ranks were easier to fill as they took in retired veteran warriors. The reforms put in place by new coordinator Theodore Kurita would not be popular with some of the more strict believers in Bushido and older Combine traditions. Many of these disgruntled samurai would unite with the Black Dragon Society, and a plan was set in motion to assassinate the coordinator. Several members of the Otomo would turn against their master and join other units as the military hand of the Black Dragons. The attack would be stopped by the Ninth Ghost and Camacho's Caballeros, as the loyal Otomo kept the coordinator safe. Amongst those who came to save Theodore Kurita was his illegitimate son, Franklin Sakamoto. When the battle was over, Franklin would be made the commander of the Otomo, and a purge of all Black Dragon loyalists would begin. This would allow the Otomo to rebuild their strength, with soldiers who are fully loyal to their ruler. However, this also allowed the Izanagi warriors to gain more influence and status, as they had no traitors in their ranks. In 3059, the Izanagi warriors would send a team to assist in Operation Bulldog. The team would return to Tiente in the first wave and defeat the Novacat garrison forces in a series of duels, winning the world back to the Draconis Combine. In the second wave of the operation, the Izanagi warriors would win Jua Zero from the 6th Novacat regulars by defeating them in a best-of-3 game of Chinese checkers, exploiting the clan weakness for challenges great and small. Finally, in the third wave, they would go to Outer Volta with the 8th Sword of Light and 39th Com Guard Division. They would face the Smoke Jaguar Beta Galaxy Command Trinary and the 1st Jaguar Guards. The Izanagi warriors would trap the 1st Jaguar Guards in a valley. Commander Yodama would deny Zelbriggen, but would accept one-on-one fights, which would lead to the destruction of a trinary of Jaguar Guards. While their Galaxy Commander was defeated, he would escape with his life. This would lead to a chase. The other members of the Star League team would eliminate their targets, making things desperate for Beta Galaxy. The Izanagi warriors would find them again. The Jaguars would take heavy damage, and only a handful would escape to be tracked down and wiped out by the members of the SLDF. Afterward, the Izanagi warriors would return to Luthien to continue their standard bodyguard work. The Otomo would again be shamed by their brother unit winning glory in battle. A new era would bring new challenges for the Draconis Combine. An invasion by the Ghost Bear Dominion would be stopped, and an invasion by the Federated Suns would utterly fail. The Coordinator's Guard regiments would not be involved. The Otomo would remain at their post as they reached full strength for the first time in over a decade. Both the Otomo and Izanagi warriors would have about half their gear be made up of clan tech, with the rest of their gear being Star League level or Inner Sphere Omnitech. This would make them two of the most powerful units in the Draconis Combine by the end of this era. The Black Dragon Society would finally attempt another major coup in December 3067, with an attack on Luthien. The attack was led by members of the Second Sword of Light, which would lead to a siege of the Imperial Palace. The Otomo would team up with the Izanagi warriors in a delaying action as other units retreated. This action cost them the XO of the Otomo. Infighting amongst the Sword of Light allowed a group of prisoners to escape, and more importantly, bought time for reinforcements to arrive. The first Genyosha would be the first to arrive. The remains of the Otomo and Izanagi warriors would join up with the Genyosha for a major counterattack against the traitors. This led to a long defense of Luthien as the Ward of Blake and the Black Dragons began a campaign across the Combine. The Battle of Luthien would continue as the Ward of Blake units arrived to support the Black Dragons in their coup. In August 3072, the Luthian defense team would work with the Kasi Galaxy of Clan Novacat to attack a Blakis supply base guarded by the 42nd Shadow Division. The battle would be intense, but a Novacat star would destroy a supply of chemical weapons and set off a chain reaction of destruction that completely destroyed the base. It was at a great cost, but the Blakists would be on the back foot for the first time in this battle. In March 3074, the Black Dragons would attack a weapons research lab and steal the prototype large X-pulse laser for the Ward of Blake. This would be a major blow to morale and the war efforts, as the weapon and its developer were captured and taken off-world. The local defenders would keep up the fight with support from the Ghost Bears and Stone's Coalition, leading to the liberation of Luthian in December 3074. The Otomo and Izanagi warriors would not join the United Front against the Ward of Blake, as their original mission took priority over other objectives. Due to the siege on Luthian, New Samarkand would become the temporary capital of the Draconis Combine. The Otomo would escort the royal family to the world and protect them as the war against the Ward of Blake and Black Dragon Society continued. The Otomo suffered great casualties during the war due to their efforts to protect civilians as well as House Kurita. By the end of the era, they would be stationed on New Samarkand and at 30% effective strength, many of their fallen brothers being honored for their valiant sacrifices. In 3079, Hohiro Kurita would make joining the Izanagi warriors an award for merit during the war. The greatest warriors of the Combine were selected to join the unit as the Coordinator's Honor Guard, allowing them to rebuild faster than their brother unit. This would give the Izanagi warriors more prestige than the older Otomo, who again would find themselves having difficulty rebuilding. It would take quite some time to rebuild the Otomo. Even in 3058, they would be up to only 50% effective. They would be rebuilt slowly, as the Coordinator wanted to keep elite soldiers in their current units, rather than weaken the frontline forces for his personal defense. Part of the rebuilt Otomo would include the last remaining members of the 3rd Night Stalkers Regiment that had been destroyed during the Ward of Blake War. However, this would only net them 3 new elite members. The Izanagi warriors, on the other hand, would be given new battle armor infantry and aerospace assets to bolster their forces. When the Second Combine Dominion War broke out, the Izanagi warriors would use this as an excuse to expand their ranks in case of another assault on Luthian. They would gain another battalion's worth of soldiers, which did not sit well with the stagnating Otomo. Despite having the same primary objective, the tensions between the Otomo and Izanagi warriors would boil over. The differences in their treatment would lead the two units into fighting each other in private duels. The Coordinator would allow them to have these duels to resolve their differences rather than have their animosity cause greater problems for the Draconis Combine and House Kurita. The Otomo would not be involved in any of the battles the Combine would face during the Dark Age. This would allow their forces to expand over the decades, and they would boast a reinforced regiment of battle mechs and an expanded battalion of battle armor by 3145. This was done as a reaction to the assassination of Vincent Kurita in 3137, who died in a bombing at the palace. With the main line of the Kurita family mostly dead, Yori Kurita, the great-granddaughter of Franklin Sakamoto, would take the throne and become a political puppet. With the Draconis Combine getting stronger and the world of Luthian safe, it is unlikely the Otomo and Izanagi warriors will be seeing action for some time, unless something crazy happens during the Third Combine Dominion War. Currently, this is where their story stops, as the Ill Clan era begins. The Otomo are the absolute elite of the Draconis Combine. However, their rivalry with the Izanagi warriors adds only a dash of flavor to their mostly boring history. While they do continue to grow stronger as the years pass, Their battle record makes it seem like it is a major waste of resources. The Izanagi warriors, on the other hand, proven themselves many times on the battlefield, making them easily the superior of the two units, despite the fact that their soldiers are merely retired veterans instead of the best of the best, proving it takes more than just medals in order to serve the dragon. Several important historical figures would be part of the Otomo and Izanagi warriors. Here are a few of the most notable. Takashi Kurita. He was the son of coordinator Hohiro Kurita. He served with the Second Sword of Light, where he became a captain in 2995, and became the heavy battalion commander by 2997. His skill and bravery earned him a promotion to the commander of the Otomo in the year 3000. His father would be assassinated by a traitor, and Takashi would avenge his father and take the position of coordinator in 3004. He would pilot a Battlemaster. Then, years later, he would pilot a Grand Dragon. Marcus Kurita. A cousin of Takashi Kurita, he was known for his scheming and ambition. He would be involved in a plot to assassinate Takashi in 3019, but betrayed the group, saving the life of his cousin. He was suspected of treachery, but there was no evidence. He would be promoted and kept on Luthien, so his cousin could keep tabs on him. He would take command of the Otomo in the 3020s and leave his position around the Fourth Succession War. He would be a key leader of the Rasselhag Ronin and be assassinated in 3034 as a traitor. Oda Hideyoshi. An elite soldier who strictly followed the rules of Bushido and commanded the Otomo for 15 years. He helped with the plan to load up remote-controlled worker mechs with explosives to stop Clan Smoke Jaguar's invasion of Luthien. However, he would join the Black Dragon Society and try to assassinate coordinator Theodore Kurita due to new reforms that had been put in place. He would be killed during the failed assassination attempt in 3058. He piloted a Battlemaster and later a Sunder. Griffin Mishune. The commander of the 2nd Battalion during the command of Hideyoshi. Unlike his leader, he supported Theodore Kurita's reforms. He would take temporary command after his traitor commander was killed in 3058. Griffin would be killed in a Black Dragon attack on Luthien in 3068 while keeping the palace safe, a very honorable death. Franklin Sakamoto. The illegitimate son of Theodore Kurita. He went into hiding with help from Marcus Kurita. He would work for a shipping company until he was arrested for smuggling in 3050 and would be pushed into joining the 1st Somerset Strikers. Years later, he would reconcile with his father and join the Otomo, becoming the commander of the infantry forces. He took over as the regimental commander after Mishune died, and kept his family safe during the Word of Blake War. He piloted a Hatamoto Chi, amongst other units including a Banshee fighter and Sloth battle armor. Rikichi Kodami. The late Dark Age commander of the Otomo. He was criticized for expanding the forces of the Otomo to more than a regiment of mechs and a battalion of battle armor. He wanted to be sure the coordinator would remain safe after the Otomo failed in protecting Vincent Kurita. Majtaba al-Haddad. Known for his skills and bravery, he was able to prove himself despite bias against his Azami heritage. He served with the Arkob Legion and earned a promotion to the Sword of Light. In the War of 39, he was able to wipe out a lance of enemy mechs on his own. That act earned him a spot in the Otomo. He piloted a Thug that was of original SLDF design. Shin Yodama. A veteran of the Ronin War, War of 39, and clan invasion. He would join the Izanagi warriors after the Battle of Luthien. He would take command prior to Operation Bulldog. He was an honorable warrior who served the dragon well. He would die in the Ark Royal bombing in 3073. He piloted a Panther, Phoenix Hawk, Griffin, and finally a Dragonfire. Ying Sum Lee. A skilled soldier who was brought into the Izanagi warriors, taking the role of commander of the 3rd Battalion. He He would fight in Operation Bulldog as part of the team to hunt Galaxy Commander Mikhail Ward. He would lead his troops to victory against the Smoke Jaguars. He piloted a Nodachi. Both the Otomo and Izanagi warriors use only Draconis Combine mechs until the 3050s, where clan mechs would slowly get integrated into their forces. They always had top-of-the-line equipment for any era. This makes them easier to build than other units that feature salvage or purchased mechs. The Otomo only recruit the best of any DCMS unit, while the Izanagi warriors take their troops from retired veterans who have proven to be extremely loyal to the coordinator. Oftentimes, the Otomo is commanded by someone related to the Kurita family line. The Otomo use defensive tactics due to their long-time work as protectors of the royal family. However, they are skilled enough soldiers to pick up on enemy weaknesses and act upon them. The Izanagi warriors do not use any standard tactics and will adapt to the situation in order to complete their mission. Both groups are more than willing to give their lives for House Kurita. They are the front line of the Imperial Palace and the last to leave the battlefield once they know for sure the Kurita family is safe. Both units have limited support. They both have between a battalion and a regiment of infantry. In later eras, they have a company or more of battle armor. And in the late Dark Age, the Izanagi warriors also get aero fighter assets. Any and all transport is provided by House Kurita, and more often than not, they are stationed on Luthien. The Otomo and Izanagi warriors are powerful units, but all their experience comes from the previous DCMS units they served with. They are extremely skilled, well-equipped, and mostly sit around the Imperial Palace. There are a couple books where the Otomo and Izanagi warriors are part of a battle and events from their history are mentioned. Beyond that, both units are in many sourcebooks. The Izanagi show up in a couple extra books due to their role in Operation Bulldog. Finally, there is a fair amount of references to both units in different TROs. Do bear in mind that some of these reference books only have logistics data or very minor notes about both units. This was an odd choice, and I almost didn't go for it. There was a limited amount of history outside of a couple of key battles. However, discovering the connection between the Otomo and the Izanagi warriors made this a video I was willing to make, as neither unit was really worth discussing on their own. Also of note, there are contradictory reports about some of the Operation Bulldog battles. I tried my best to make them work as a coherent story. I have mixed feelings on painting up a set of Otomo or Izanagi warriors. I do like the paint schemes, but they are not used in many battles, unless you want to reenact various battles of Luthien or the two missions in The Dragon Roars. There isn't much reason to paint up a set. If you are into what-if type battles, it might be worth it, considering the quality of the Otomo commanders and the high-level tech both units boast. If you have painted up either team, please let me know in the comments. Next time, I will be discussing the Lyran Commonwealth. We will begin with the 3rd Lyran Guards, then go on to discuss McGee's Cutthroats. It's going to be a wild November. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a happy Halloween, and like I always say, may your weapons stay hot and your reactors stay cool. There are over 55 BattleTech faction briefing videos on my playlist, so there is plenty more mech action if you need it. Until next time, I'm the Dapper Bard, and I'll see you at the tavern.